Hello everyone, my name is Tetsuya and I am from Japan. I am a Singapore lover and a frequent visitor to Singapore. If you are a Singaporean person, I think maybe you might also like Japan for tourism. So I hope you are also interested in how Japanese think about Singapore. In this channel, I will share a lot of my insights and observations about Singapore from my Japanese perspectives. Sometimes I simply talk about impressive things of Singapore in comparison with Japan by explaining the differences clearly. So today's theme is what I was surprised about on Singapore after I have been to Singapore many times. By the way, this video is part 1 in this theme. So I am going to post more videos later, so don't miss them. As for today, I am going to share 4 things I was surprised about after I got relatively familiar with Singapore. Now, let's get started. So the first thing I was surprised about Singapore is the price of food. The price of food at restaurants in shopping malls are quite high, but the price of the food at hawkers are quite low. Hawkers are the folk food restaurant area that are like food court, like this. At restaurants at shopping malls, one person's portion is at least over 15 Singaporean dollars in general. But at hawkers, you can eat food at around 5 Singaporean dollars. So there is 3 times difference in the price between the restaurants at shopping malls and the hawkers. Anyway, I wonder if hawkers, each shop owners can really get profit in their business, considering the generally high price of the things in Singapore. As you know, generally the price of things in Singapore is 2, 3 times, or even higher than that of Southeast Asian standard, especially even comparing the ones of the next country, Malaysia. So moving on, the next thing I was surprised about Singapore was roofs. In Singapore, there are a lot of roofs anywhere in the city. Those roofs are to prevent sunshine and rain. Once people visit Singapore, everyone might feel the roof is so useful and convenient while taking a walk in the city. But what I found was really surprising was not only the fact that Singapore had a lot of roofs, but it was what was shown in some advertisement I found in the city. This is a little bit old advertisement, but this advertisement is showing the construction plan of the roofs of Singapore. And I knew there was such a really specific plan for the specific thing with a deadline. So what I was surprised about was the fact that such a plan is set by the Singaporean government. And the Singaporean government kind of promised to its citizens. This is really surprising and impressive to me because this kind of project certainly shows how much Singaporean government is trying to make their country convenient. Of course, I guess not many people might be impressed with or pay attention to this advertisement, possibly. But still, this advertisement drew my attention. Moving on, so the third thing I was surprised about Singapore was library. If people from outside Singapore got familiar with the things of library in Singapore, there will be a lot of surprising, interesting, and impressive facts about them. The Central Library in Singapore gave me a lot of surprise in so many aspects. But what I am going to introduce is not about the Central Library in Singapore, but I'm going to talk about some specific library that surprised me so much when I saw it for the first time. Even though there might be some or a lot of impressive libraries in the world, this sort of thing might not happen in any other countries, I guess. The fact I was surprised about was there was a library in a shopping mall. When I saw the library in a shopping mall for the first time, I actually could not notice it was a library for a while, but rather I thought this was a bookstore because if bookstores, they are in shopping malls commonly anywhere in the world, but after taking a bit walk inside, I noticed there was no price tags on the books, and there were some barcode scanning machines around entrance. So I noticed this was a library. As I said earlier, I guess not many countries or even no country would have a library within a shopping malls, including Japan. When I studied at National University of Singapore, I learned the reason why libraries were in shopping malls. And I was so impressed with that idea because I am pretty sure we can call it an innovation of libraries. But this time, I will skip explaining the reason of it because it's a bit long story. So moving on. So the fourth thing I was surprised about in Singapore was the ratio of people. This is something really special in Singapore. The ratio of some people is really high in Singapore compared to any other country in the world. What kind of people's ratio do you think is high? If you are a Singaporean person, you might have already known what people I am talking about. Yes, foreigners. It is really amazing that about 35% of the residents in Singapore are foreigners. In Japan, the foreigners ratio is 0. Something only, and most residents are Japanese people. Even if I put the total population of Singapore into consideration, 35% of foreigners' population is just surprising and amazing. And talking about a summary of today's topic, it is as shown this way. Please comment which point I mentioned among these was interesting to you and why. I will reply to your comments and let's begin the discussion. I am going to share a lot more videos about Singapore from now on. So don't forget to subscribe my channel to watch my future videos. Thank you and see you soon in other videos.